Welcome back to AI War Fleet Command. We are just over 2 minutes into our first Zenith Remnant game. And I didn't plan on coming back quite this soon, but the Zenith Trade Ship has arrived. One thing I want to look at before that is, you can see some of these that I've basically turned off. I've just got them powered down so they're not building them. I just did it. You can see the beam going out there, but that'll change. And that's because we've got a serious metal shortage. I overbuilt. Again, I'm still working on backing off enough stuff to find the right amount of stuff to build first and then add more to it later. So I'll turn those back on eventually. But counter sniper, counter dark matter turrets, and 2 of the 3 grav turrets pointing in each direction. I just turned a few of those off. And some of this stuff is getting close to finishing, so we will pull out of this soon. But you can see we're producing just over 1,000 metal, and we've got about over 20,000 going out. So that's obviously a really terrible ratio. We've gone through the initial set, and we're also most of the way down on energy. So the Zenith Trade Ship showed up a few seconds ago, came in through wherever that is, and appears to be heading to wherever that goes. Cool system names, huh? So what am I doing with this thing? Well, it took me a little bit to actually figure out what this does, because the description talks about, in the setup and here, how expensive the stuff is that you have to buy from it. And I kept thinking, well, what is it charging me? Like, what amount of energy or what amount of metal is it taking? And the price is just the build price listed here. So in terms of game mechanics, how this actually works is as a production facility, but one that moves around and isn't under your control. They give us different things that they give the AI, as it says down there, and they can build stuff, but they're only going to build it about 1% of the time. When it leaves one of their systems, it says that they'll purchase it. Well, if this goes to a new planet every couple minutes, that still means, once every few hours, they're probably going to build something. So AI makes use of it, but not particularly aggressively, I think is a good way to look at that. Let's take a look at some of the stuff we can build here. First of all, we can build any of the ion cannons that we want, which is like, cool, and even the Mark V one. But, on the other hand, look at the price there. 259 million metal. Now I did a little calculation. We got to over 5,000 metal income in the last game, and I assure you we will not get that high this time because we're not going with the economic command stations, which is the only reason it even got that high. But even at that amount, dedicating all of our metal to it, it would take 14 hours to build one of these, which is significantly longer than any of our games have lasted, both of them coming in at just over 10.5 hours. So, I mean, these are prohibitively expensive, and ion cannons are nice, but they're not, I don't think any of these are really worth the price for what you get for them. And you can only build one of the higher level ones. So there's a counter spy down here, which basically seems to be a lower level ion cannon for use against cloak ships. The super fortress, you see it costs 300k energy, so I couldn't even place this. And 36 million metal, that's going to take a while. But on the other hand, massive attack against 250 ships at once. Range is 53,000, just so we can see how much that is. It's almost the entire gravity well. That's got to be like 90% of the building operation gravity well, maybe half of the outer one for ships. That's massive. Anything that enters this system at any wormhole, this could hit. I'm not going to completely ruling out possibly building that at one point, but, it'd have to be at a point where I've got plenty of metal. I think it's worth spending the time to build it, which, again, is a lot of time. That would still take, a couple hours of maximum metal or more, and I'm not probably going to want to do that. Okay, then we have the orbital mass driver, which I think is interesting. 480k attack, so a huge attack every 10 seconds. Strips iron from an asteroid and attacks starships, guardians, and golems. Can't fire on other targets. In other words, it can't fire at, say, fleet ships. But really interesting here, I think, is 75% attack from under human force field. These would not lose much, and I really like the idea of potentially using these against, say, the Avenger later in the game, or any exogalactic attacks that might come in. These would prove very valuable against those. The black hole machine, if we find this on AI planet, we get AI progress if we kill it. You see, a lot of these are captured if you take the planet that they're on. We talked about these a little bit in the setup, but they prevent any enemy ships from escaping through wormholes. They can still enter, they just can't escape. Well, why would I want to keep enemy ships on my home planet? That I want them to leave in most cases. The Zenith power generator, and from the little bit that I've read, this is the most common thing to get from the Zenith. Now, it is also the only one that will gain AI progress if they kill us, if they kill it. So, you have to protect these, but 600k energy. That's almost four of our planets. 30,000 energy from this one plus 150 for the energy collector. So it'd be between 3 and 4, close to 4 of our planets. Of course, new command stations won't produce that much energy. Even if you're talking about Mark III economic command stations, it would still be 2 planets that had that equipped. So significant amount of energy allowing you to build more things. We can only build one of these, but if we did, obviously a big energy boost. Planetary armor booster boosts the armor of any allied ships on a planet, and there's also an armor inhibitor which would disable the armor of all enemy ships, and then they would take more damage, including force fields. And I think it'd have to be a pretty extreme situation where I'd want the armor inhibitor, but I could see building the armor booster to just give myself, better protection. I may consider doing this here. 8,000 energy is a bit much for now, particularly given that we're low, but could do it eventually. Then we have the radar jammers, and those reduce the effective range of all ships on the planet. And then the Mark II one does the same thing, but it has, a stronger attack. Now, the interesting thing I thought about here is, just because I place some of these now, so this is going to move around and it's not predictable when it's going to come back, when I'll be able to use it again. If I place some of these now, I don't have to finish building them. I can do what I've done with these other buildings and just turn them off. They won't get worked on building, and then I can turn them on whenever I need them. So I want to place for sure, I want the Zenith power generator. I'm going to want that eventually. So we're just going to set that right in here. Power it down. You can see without engineer assistance, this is going to take almost an hour to build. 5 million health. Okay, but again, we'll do this over time. We'll do that when we have metal available for it. It's going to be later on in the game. We're going to put it on in place. And I also like the idea of the orbital mass drivers. I'm going to drop both of those down with the same deal. And if we look at the energy cost, it's only costing me 100 energy to keep those up, and nothing for the Zenith power generator. We're going to shut these off. I'm going to leave the ion cannons alone. I don't think I want the counter spy, don't want the black hole machine. So I think those ones are what I'm going to want to get to, and I'm going to want to get the energy ones first, but then later on in the game I'm going to want to bring these orbital mass drivers online and give us some extra security here in the homeworld. And by the way, I also turned off this hardened force field, so that won't finish building until we get our metal back. So now what's left for me to do here is basically continue on, let this trade ship go off on its merry way. I do think it has kind of a cool graphic, and I'm going to just activate this. It's headed... oh, it's heading over to this wormhole. Okay. You can see we're down to 14,000 being used. And doesn't move around that fast, so it's going to hang in here a little bit. Speed of 32, which is below average but not terrible. It's faster than a missile frigate at 22. But most ships can move along around 50 or 60 or something, so they're a little bit faster than that. And our stuff is gradually building. So this is about to leave us, and I will come back when we've got our defenses online. Okay, just over 9.5 minutes in, and we've got our first wave coming in. Of course, we'd have wave warnings off, so it didn't say they're showing up. They just got here. Now, at about 6.5 minutes, I had all of the things that I had active before finished. And then I turned on the inactive ones, force field and the extra grav turrets and so on. Took another minute to finish those, and then I started filling in some other turrets. Now, I'm not going to be able to max this out until we expand. You can see the energy is already down to, almost down to 30,000. We've got most of our needlers out, but less than half of our laser, MLRS, and missile. most of the lightning and flak, and then I've gotten most of the spiders out there, and I'm building some more snipers. And I like focusing on the spiders and snipers just so they can hold them in place. We can pound them before they get in range. And I'm not worried about ultimately taking this out. I'm sure this is just going to be a salvage aiding wave. Let's go ahead and watch what happens with it. And we have a Zenith Polarizer, a Zenith Electric Bomber. We got some interesting things here. Zenith Chameleon. Mid-range Bomber, okay. Zenith Electric Bomber. Zenith Bombardment Ship, very powerful long-range antimatter bombs. Okay, very slow reload time. So, it's looking like we might have that Zenith Descendant, I believe it is. And what do we have here? A Plasma Siege, but it's stopped. Yeah, that's not fun. You can see it got within range of our command station and damaged a bunch of stuff. And what's this? Zenith Mirror. Pause this and see what that's doing, because we're not shooting at it. Unique ability to reflect all incoming shots against its attackers. With its armor can often deal out significantly more damage than it actually receives. It can be countered by area of effect and missile attacks. HP is very high, but all attackers do 10 times normal damage against it. Well, those look evil. And yes, dark matter ammo. So good that we had those counter dark matter turrets. We are not attacking it, but it's not able to attack us. Probably want missile frigates, I think, to take that out. Okay, so we've got some energy here. We've got some repairs to do as well, but I'm not too happy with the fact that we also already had some attack getting through all the way to our command station. In any case, I think we're at the point where I can't afford to build anything more here. I want to do some scouting. So the first thing I want to do is get all my scouts built. And then after we get them out, I want to get the frigates rolling. Just, probably not a lot of them, but get a decent amount of frigates to take this thing out. I don't want to tolerate enemy ships on our planets to complicate things later. And then while the scouts go out, we'll see what we find and decide where to go from there. Alright, so a couple more minutes have passed. Our frigates, I built 20 of them. They easily took out the Mirror, and this happens to be the Puck system now. We know we have Jupiter, Puck, Anti-Cheese, and Aspasia around us. And what I did is I told our space dock, you know what, build 20 of all the other ships and actually 35 of the space planes. So it's just finished everything else, moving on to the space planes. And then after that, I'm just going to save up metal for whatever I might need for the first expansion. Now the exploration it's going, but it's a little more complicated. I jumped out of each system, then came back in here and moved on to the next one because we don't know what's connected to what. We've got our 4 systems out here, but I don't know if these connect up at all, because if we go into like Jupiter, for example, where we just arrived, we've got, like, there's another wormhole here. There's another one here, but I don't know where those go. Those could connect anywhere. There are sure interconnections, so we're going to discover this network as we go out, but we have to make extra jumps to do the exploration with the unexplored planets off. Now, what do we have? Well, Anti-Cheese, MLRS, Post, and that's it. 8 metal harvesters. So this is a lucrative one. It also has 2 force field generators. But this would be a really big metal boost for us at this point in the game. Aspasia, MLRS Post, and that's about it, but only 2 metal. So this system is just kind of there. Not too exciting. Puck has 2 metal harvesters and a comm shield and special forces post. So this is even weaker, but it also has something called a distribution node right here. And this thing, apparently, we get +1 AI progress if we kill it, but if we destroy this, we get a sizable cache of metal between 600 to 800k, and we don't need to destroy the planet. We've just got to destroy this. And I don't see a reason not to just go do that. Really, I don't see a reason not to just jump in here and head over there and get that metal. Because if we think about how much metal that we're acquiring, and we're getting some from scrap, but our base income is just over 1,000. So in the 5 minutes it would take us to accrue, you know, we're looking at 30,000 metal. No, 300,000 metal. So this would give us at least twice the metal. It's 1 AI progress. Later on in the game, this may not be worth it, but getting it now to accelerate our build-up, I can't find any good argument not to just go hit this. Now, what ships do they have? They've got 19 fighters that they could hit us with, and 3 bombers. So really, we just want an anti-fighter ship. And what is good against fighters, class? That's right, it's our old friend, the missile frigates. So I think we want to build, you know, more missile frigates. Let's just make sure we outnumber them. It's going to be a slow journey. We're not going to have a flagship up. But I just want to send the missile frigates in here. Probably build up to half of our cap of them, and then go do that. And take out this distribution node, grab that extra metal, and move on with our life. We're probably definitely going to want to get anti-cheese. And then over here in Jupiter, they just have an MLRS post and 3 metal, so that's not particularly exciting either. So anti-cheese definitely our best candidate for future expansion, but we want to keep the scouting going and find out what some more of these connections are. I want to get, you know, 1 jump away in all directions from all of these systems, so we know that if we take them, you know, what are we going to be ticking off further on. I don't want to tick off any Mark IV planets or anything just yet if I can avoid it. Just a bit longer, and now we've got multiple things going on at once here. First of all, we've got another wave that's hit. And you might ask, well, why so soon? Well, this is more of a normal game really now, because both AIs are going to be sending waves at us. We clearly don't have a turtle opponent. And they've got a flagship, they've got tachyon microfighters in here, they've got fighters, bombers, frigates. They've given us a barrage of basically basic stuff. Not going to really have any problems with this, I don't believe. And then you see, goodness, we're down to 12,000 energy with everything that we've built. But I think I want to send the little bit of ships that we have here. Why don't we have them go help fight the flagship? Now we just built another group of scouts because we got some destroyed. There's a couple of ion cannons in Thisbe. That wasn't a lot of fun. And Jupiter is bordered by 3 Mark III planets. None of them particularly pressing for our immediate concerns. And we've got these other 3 to figure out. Meanwhile, our frigates are in Puck, and they're slowly making their way across the system. Probably going to take them at least another 1.5 to 2 minutes to get over here and hit that distribution node. But they're eventually going to get there and do the job. So we've got a bit of a slow start time-wise with this particular setup, with having the more extensive and harder to do exploring. And then we also are trying to fight off waves, trying to send out more scouts. There's 3 or 4 different things kind of hanging in the air right now. We're not even 15 minutes in. So it's been a much different but an interesting start. And I definitely want to see next what's off of anti-cheese, because I want to know what's going to happen with that metal situation. If we don't find anything particularly hazardous off of this, I want to go hit it with our low energy situation. I don't want to let that continue to fester for any longer than I absolutely have to. Alright, so here we've got all the metal we were looking for. Captured just shy of 700,000 metal. Bumped our AI progress up to 13. I'm just going to have these frigates take out that Special Forces guard post just because. And then they're going to come back home. But now we just basically need the energy so we can do something with it. And there's a bit of a problem with that, because Procne here is a Mark IV planet bordering anti-cheese. And it's got a Mark II ion cannon, which means an immediate beachheading is sort of out of the way, at least until we take out that ion cannon. Might want to consider, like, if we take this, we're going to want to get rid of that ion cannon and then beachhead pretty quickly before this builds up. So that's going to make that a lot more difficult. And metal of 1, so we don't want to take it, at least not at this point. So that's going to complicate things a little bit, still exploring around anti-cheese a little more. And now, just over 16 minutes in, I think I'm done with the initial wave of exploring. Now, I know everything that's off of Puck, off of anti-cheese, and off of Jupiter. I don't know everything that's off of Vespasia, but since it's borders, or has a jump rather, into Procne, it's in the same boat as anti-cheese. I'm going to wrap this episode up here, and then the next one, we'll start by making a decision on where we're going to attack. Do we want to go to anti-cheese? Do we want to go somewhere else? What do we want to do about the fact that we basically don't have any energy? Metal is almost up to 1 million, all that fun stuff. So it's time to take our next step and try to expand and see where we can get with this. Until then, thanks for watching. More AI War Fleet Command coming up soon.